Welcome to Corner Booth. I am here with Eva Orner and Kimberly Hassett. You are the director and you're the producer and the editor. And the film we're talking about, right, is Bikram Yogi Guru Predator.
So you guys ready? Do you trust me? Do you have a choice?
Bikram considers himself to be above the law.
Today, you are not old, educated, wise, experienced enough to understand who I am.
It's very compelling, the stories that you told, the women that were telling their stories, along with another woman that still believes and doesn't actually think he did anything wrong necessarily, or still believes in it and is still rooting for him to come back. It's like you're just like, oh my God, right?
But this is Patrice, and I love her for her honesty, and I'm so respectful and grateful she agreed to talk with me. And when I first contacted her, she was pretty tough on me. Her first question was, do you do Bikram yoga? Have you done teacher training? And I was like, no, I've done a couple of classes. Yeah. But she was actually, I think she's great, and I think she's in a tricky position because she acknowledges that he has done some things. She says the women may have or may not have made some bad choices. She respects the women, I think, for their courage. It's a little uncomfortable, but she still believes in the magic of it all, and I think she's still caught up in the heydays. I think a lot of people hide behind not telling the truth, and I applaud honesty, so I'm a bit of a fan of hers. I think she's a good person.
The main thing to me, and why I agreed to speak with you, Eva, is because this yoga is magical.
And I imagine it's like what you said is so complicated about it, is he is probably helping a large majority of people, right? In terms of, finding themselves and injury and confidence.
And that's how he gets them. And we really wanted to show in the first act of the film the legitimacy of it and why people were drawn to it and fell for it, because we wanted, if you didn't sort of capture that, it's easy to dismiss people as saying, well, how foolish that you would fall for something like this, because when you look at it retrospectively, you can do that easily. But we really wanted to capture this world because it was a real thing. It was a big thing in LA and then around the world, and people believed in it.
Tell me about why this story. What motivated you to tell this one?
Pulse, a UK film company, brought it to me as just a series of articles and said, are you interested in telling a story? And it kind of was just as Me Too was just happening. I knew it would come out in a couple of years, and I thought this is interesting because it's a pre-Me Too story and it'll be told in a post-Me Too world. The most important part about it is it's about the bravery and the courage of women to come out in a time when the world wasn't nearly as receptive.
I went to one of the senior staffers and said, Bikram asked me if I would be with him. And he didn't look shocked at all.
This was a very different environment. I mean, it's still not easy to do that now.
Especially Nick, the one that started it all off. That was amazing to me,
but to do that then was so courageous. And the thing is, several years later, what have they got out of it? He went to court, he was found guilty, he didn't pay his judgment, he got away with it, he's a fugitive in another country. And a handful of women settled for small amounts of money.
And does he pay those settlements? Because I noticed he didn't pay the big one.
He's paid for relatively small settlements. 2 are still pending, and he was ordered to pay $8 million when he was found guilty of every charge against him in a civil court, and he fled the country.
How did you manage to, that must have been really hard to choose what
Archive's fun though.
Yeah, we built a chronological archive. It wasn't one of these movies where you had, hundreds of hours of footage. We had to cut, 2 or 3 characters along the way, but I think that it was actually quite quick to distill the story.
Yeah, I think so too. A documentary filmmaker is nothing without an amazing editor.
Where are we in getting justice served with him?
The DAs have a reluctance to go after powerful men because they're difficult in sex abuse cases, because they're difficult to win, they're high profile. Nobody wants another OJ situation. Right. It's easy to just walk away quietly, but in a post-Me Too world, I think as women we need to say not good enough, men need to say the same thing, and they need to go after him criminally and, ultimately try to get him here, extradite him here. He's an American citizen.
I live in Los Angeles, and I noticed the Bikram is very hard to find.
There's only, I think, there's like 5 of them left in LA.
Really? Yeah.
There used to be a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. The names have changed. It's the same principle. It's just that they've gotten rid of the Bikram branding.
We needed to actually have some evolution. At the end of 2015, I did change the name to Hot Yoga Pasadena.
Do you feel like a predator was born, or do you feel like the ego and the power, you know, grew and mushroomed, and so he just took what he wanted regardless of consent? Because I'm sure plenty of women were sleeping with him willingly.
I think he always had something in him that was,
A seed.
I think he was prone to abuse if given power. He got worse as he got more power, but he was more enabled, and he had a core group around him enabling him and protecting him. But I think, I don't know, I feel like he was always very comfortable not telling the truth, and I think that's always a big warning sign.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
It's great
you
to
so
meet you guys.
much.
Really well done.
Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by our corner booth.
Thank you. We love it here.
Thank you.